Hey, hey, hey! Welcome back to another episode of Frankly Speaking, where we share stories, insights, and great financial tips, of course. I'm your host, Khomotso, and I'm a junior marketing manager at Franc. Today, I have Annalisa in studio, who manages customer success at Franc. So we're going to be talking about the do's and don'ts of your first paycheck.
Yay.
Do you remember what you did with your first paycheck?
That is a very interesting question. Very interesting question because, like, thinking back, I'm like, wow, I was all over the place.
How old were you?
I think I was just 22 years old. I just started, obviously, my first job. I was fresh out of varsity. Very excited. Financial independence. You feel like you're that girl. You have your everything is in order. Your life is looking up. You have responsibilities, obviously, which can be scary, but it's an exciting time. And I remember I had a plan, not a good plan, mind you, like now that I'm thinking back. You basically make plans for money that hasn't even arrived in your account yet. And I'm not talking about good plans. It was like basically experiences that I wanted to have. Like I wanted to make a booking at a specific restaurant. I wanted to get a nice bag.
Designer.
No, not designer. Not designer.
Okay.
I wasn't that extravagant, but like it was more of material things, which is because I felt like, okay, I worked hard. I want to spoil myself and I felt like I deserved it. But then, like in hindsight, obviously, I wasn't thinking of the future. I wasn't thinking of, is this money going to last me to the end of the month? I wasn't like making plans and trying to stretch the money that I was going to get in my account, but rather just looking at the now and what I think I need or want moreover now, if that makes sense. I think, regrets. What did you do? Tell me.
What did I do with my first paycheck? Okay, so I was 21 and my first gig was some influencer campaign back in the days. And I literally spent it on clothes.
Really?
Yeah, just clothes. And it's so funny because the campaign itself was for a fashion brand. So obviously they were giving me, a budget for the clothing. I didn't need the extra clothing.
So if I'm understanding it correctly, so you got the money, the paycheck, right? And then they also gave you free clothes, basically. That's
my side addiction, clothing. So, I mean, of course, I also have regrets. But at the same time, when I look back, I wanted to spoil myself.
Yeah.
I worked hard for my money. So, why not?
Yeah.
But I think we all learn from that. Sometimes you do have to make that kind of mistake in order for you to gain the lesson.
Definitely.
So, which brings me to this, right? Do you have any regrets on what you spent your first check on?
Yeah, I think I touched on it. But yeah, I do have regrets. I wish like in hindsight, I came up with like a budget and I kind of I didn't save, first of all. I wasn't thinking of the future. There's certain things where you hear about saving for retirement, saving for an emergency, investing your money for just building your wealth as a young person that doesn't really like click when you start, earning money. I think financially, I didn't have that knowledge. I now in hindsight, I wish I had it, but I didn't have the knowledge that I think I needed at the time. I was young. I was just thinking of the now and not the future. And I think because you hear about retirement and you just like, I'm in my early 20s. I'm going to retire, I don't know, like in 40 years' time. I don't know. And so I didn't put plans in place to like pay myself first, put my money in my savings, my emergency fund, invest the funds that I have that are like disposable income. So I do have the regret of not like sitting down, making a budget, looking at my needs, my wants, and kind of being realistic of what I can afford, and not thinking that my disposable income is there for me to like spend on like anything and everything that I feel like is indulgent and I deserve at that specific point. So I definitely, looking back, I do have regrets. What about you?
No, I agree. Like, I agree with you. The budgeting thing is quite important. I never set up a budget for myself. And honestly speaking, I probably started dealing with budgets 2 years ago. So you can imagine the kind of financial decisions I was making since I was 21. Some pretty bad ones. You know, I have my own business. I've taken out loans for that, which was not the best thing.
Yeah.
I didn't have anyone to ask financial advice from. You know, you're just doing things on the whim because you're seeing what you have to do at that specific moment. Whereas you need to plan for, like, in the long term, how am I going to be paying off this loan?
Yeah.
What's my plan? And as a creative, it is quite difficult, as a freelancer especially. So that's something that's like my biggest regret, I could say.
Yeah. Just a question on that of like being a freelancer and having to like budget the money that you get, because you're obviously not sure when the next paycheck is gonna come through. So how did you kind of, once you like found your like steps and like grew a bit, how did you kind of make those risks? Like, how did you budget then, not knowing, okay, am I gonna be able to do this, which is like more of the important things? How would you say you went about that?
So I would take a percentage of whatever I got from that specific job. So I'd take 10-20% from that check and put it aside for my rainy days, and as well as paying off those loans.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I started watching like a few YouTube videos, following some financial experts on social media, like on Twitter, Instagram and stuff. So that's where I got a bit of background, at least. So yeah, that's how I managed to cover that up. But I mean, I'm still in the process of fixing that big whoopsie.
Yeah. I can imagine.
So,
it's a tough whoopsie to I feel like most young people get trapped into that, because I mean, you get offered a credit card loans, especially when you start earning an income, and you kind of have access to all this money that you just like, it's not your money, but you know,
you have access to it. You qualify for stuff. You know, your bank will send you notifications which state that, hey, you qualify for this. You qualify for this loan or whatever it may be. And being young and not having that, it's very enticing. You know, it's very enticing. You start thinking, okay, I mean, I can take out a 60K loan, I can pay it in 5 years or whatever. You're not really thinking about it. You're just thinking on the whim. And honestly, I would advise against it. I would advise young people against that, especially if you do not have a plan to pay that off. Yeah. So it is a tough one. But not to spend too much time on that.
Because we can go about that.
Yeah, we can go on and on. Yeah, so, yeah, what's one good financial habit that you feel like you've adopted over the years?
I would say it is budgeting. Like, I feel like, I mean, you hear budgeting
all the time.
And it's like budget for this, budget for that. But I feel like budgeting is, I think, now that I've grown in my 20s and like I've made a few financial mistakes, I found that budgeting and knowing what my financial goals are, knowing what I want to achieve at a specific time and what I need to get there has made me more disciplined. I don't splurge on things that I don't necessarily need. Like, I would splurge on things like clothes, and I'm like, I'm not even gonna want to wear this jacket next winter. So why am I? So I've been more like conservative about how I spend my money, and I make plans on, okay, this month, this is important. I need to save my money and I need to purchase this, and this. This I can purchase in the next 6 months because I've made plans to make that purchase at that specific point, if that makes sense. So it's like kind of knowing what you want and having those financial goals, I feel like have, changed how I go about things now. And I'm like at a much more happier place, when you don't have financial anxiety.
Yeah.
It makes,
I love that term.
financial
Anxiety.
because it can make a difference in how you go about life and like your mental health in general. Just mentally, you feel like a lot lighter knowing that, okay, there's a plan in place and I am and you're not looking at Instagram what everyone else is doing, which is something that we as young people do. Like you want to
100%.
to do what
The instant
gratification. Yes,
Yeah.
you want to do certain things because you see it and you see people
Uzi
making.
has a car
Yes,
now.
you want to buy a
Wonang
car.
has this bag.
Yeah.
You also trying to play catch up
Yeah,
and fit in.
yeah,
But how?
yeah. You need to understand that you in your own journey, and if you want certain things, then you like need to make plans and goals for it and stuff. So I would say that is something that I think is a healthy habit that I've kind of
Adopted.
Yeah.
'Cause
What would
actually,
you say?
You see, that's why I wanted to get to this, right?
Yeah.
Before you buy something, do you have like a certain criteria you follow? What do you usually consider before buying something? Do you assess how much you need this thing? Are you able to delay it? Do you perhaps have a set criteria? For me, for instance, I first think about it like, okay, what kind of thing is this, a need or a want?
Yeah.
After assessing that, can I afford this actually compared to what I'm earning each month?
Yeah.
And then if not, am I able to put money aside and delay it for a bit up until I can afford it? How important is this thing?
Yeah, that's a good and how do you go about it? Do you kind of outweigh if you need it or
affordability?
Yeah.
Timing?
Timing is a good one.
Yeah.
I think you touched on it. Timing is I think a thing where you need to be like, okay, I'm gonna make an example about me right now. I'm at a point where I'm like, I moved to Cape Town it's almost 2 years now. Oh, it is actually a year and a bit, yeah.
Okay.
So I moved to Cape Town and got this apartment, love it. It's like it was my dream apartment at the time.
Okay.
It still is, but when you like get something, you're like, I want something better.
Yes.
That always happens. But yeah. So I now want to furnish it how I want it. Because when you move with like furniture that you had before, and that was definitely fitted more in my previous apartment. So now I'm like, I want to furnish this apartment, and I know it's a goal for me this year. And so that's kind of how I plan things around. Like I want to purchase, let's say, for example, a new couch. So I need to kind of plan out, budget about how I can go about purchasing a new couch without stretching myself over like being able to afford something doesn't mean that you need to go hungry, or you need to you need to like kind of put money aside to get whatever you want. And if I need to teach myself, if it's out of budget, plan for it, make plans, like budget for the year. So I would say that's how I kind of assess if I'm gonna make a purchase. It's the timing of it, what my financial goals are, like I mentioned, and how I want to like split things around. And if it's like I'm not saying don't spoil yourself, obviously, but like I said, don't stretch yourself too thin. Like,
so just plan ahead and critically assess your expenses.
Yes.
So you're able to make a better financial decision.
Yeah.
Sib, who is our co-founder at Franc, has shared this piece of advice. So I asked him a question, right?
Yeah.
I asked, what financial decisions should you be making in your first year of working? In your first year of earning a salary, you should get into the habit of investing around 10% of your net salary into an emergency fund, as well as into growth investments like shares. An emergency fund helps you safeguard yourself from unforeseen expenses whilst investing in shares that will enable you to start growing your wealth. Also, make sure you keep your costs low. It's very difficult to taper back your lifestyle, so rather keep it under control from the start.
That is advice I wish I got.
Back then.
When I started, I wish I got that advice. That's such good advice. And what's nice about the Franc app is that you can, download the app and easily start saving towards your short-term goals, your emergency fund, as well as have access to an equity fund where you can start saving for your long-term goals, which is really cool. And yeah, it's a great app to start ticking those financial goals
off.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, wow. So there you have it, guys. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Annalisa.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so please don't forget to download the Franc app via the App Store or the Play Store. Until next time, bye.
Bye.